Hello and welcome to a SafeAg Systems webinar. My name is Abigail Hickman. Today we're going to look at inventory management. So to get started, I'll share the dashboard. So inventory is found on the left-hand menu halfway down, and under inventory are a number of subcategories: machinery and equipment, structures, tools, and chemicals. So this is a location where you keep a list of all the inventory you may have in your business, and it enables you to retain records against those inventory items. So we'll start by looking at machinery and equipment. So to begin with, we'll look at setting up a new machine in your system. Now this can be done in two ways, either from the desktop or from the app. From the app, it is easier to capture a photo. So it's generally recommended that you add machinery from the app. However, we will start by demonstrating it from the desktop. So you add new, complete the details on here with the name, an asset ID if you use an ID system in your business, uploading an image if you wish, and then completing the drop-down fields of the type of machinery or equipment and the category. Under each type is a different set of category items. So the category items will display based on the type of machinery that you select. You then put in the make, the model number, the VIN number, the registration number, and the engine number. These fields are all optional, but provide an easy location to keep a record of these things. You can then capture the expiry, registration expiry if the machine is registered. And if you tick this tick box, it will set a task in your task manager 30 days out to remind you that the registration needs to be renewed. You can fill in a description, and then down here you complete the maintenance details. So this relates to maintenance frequency. You might say every 3 months, or it might relate to a kilometre or an hour reading. On the left-hand side, you have the ability to set the maintenance units. This particular field can only be set on the desktop. Maintenance units have 3 options: engine hours, kilometres, or miles. If this field is selected on the desktop, whenever this machine is opened on the app, the user will be prompted to complete the latest engine hours reading. If this field is not completed on the app, the user will not be prompted to complete the hours, kilometres, or miles. Finally, you can put in the location of the manual, and at the bottom you have 2 tick boxes. One is if you wish to lock out or tag out the machine or equipment, and the second relates to if the machine requires a license for the operator to operate it. So we're talking here like things like forklifts, telehandlers, etc. So once you've filled out those details, you click Save, and your machine is then added in the system. We'll now demonstrate this process from the app. So on the app, you'll find inventory halfway down the home screen. To add a machine, we click on Inventory, click on Machinery, and then use the Add button in the top right-hand corner to add a new machine. Next to the name field is a camera, which enables us to take a photo of the machine or other inventory item. So we'll add in the name. And you can use voice to text if you want to make it a little quicker. And then we click on the camera item to upload a photo. We'll choose from the gallery, select the photo, and it's now uploaded. So now we can go through and fill in the rest of the fields if they're relevant. We'll set it to a tractor. Front wheel assist, make is John Deere. And we'll put the maintenance frequency as 500 hours. Now you'll note that I haven't been able to set here that it's hours, miles, or kilometres. As I said earlier, that field must be selected from the desktop. Complete the location of the manual. And if it has a registration number and expiry date, we can fill those in. And move that to yes. So once you've filled in the details, click Save. So that's the process for adding a machine to your safeagsystems subscription from the app. We will now return to the desktop. And if we refresh this screen, the tractor we have just added should be viewable. So we can now go in and edit the units, and we'll put them in as engine hours. The process for adding other inventory items, such as structures and tools, is very much the same, with some slight differences in that there are different, obviously, types and categories, and you don't have so many fields to complete. Obviously, you have an inspection frequency if the structure is inspected, a description, and a lockout and tag out. Again, tools, although similar, are slightly more simpler. These have a test and tag expiry on them if they're electrical. They have a maintenance frequency and a location of a manual. So we'll now look at the process for adding chemicals. Chemicals have a different requirement for the information that must be captured, and those requirements are set down in legislation. So they are quite specific as to the information that must be captured. So we'll start by adding new, and we're going to add in Trojan insecticide. Now, the quickest and easiest way to find the information relating to a chemical is to source it from the manufacturer's SDS and label. Now, some of this information can be accessed from the bottle if you have it handy, or if you don't, you can go to their website. So we'll go to their website here. And what we have here is the landing page on the manufacturer's website for the chemical Trojan insecticide. From this landing page, you can access the label and the SDS. It is not uncommon that manufacturers will update the SDS for their insecticides, for their chemicals, on a reasonably regular basis. So for that reason, it is often easier to link the landing page to the SDS field and not the SDS itself. If the SDS is changed, the link will be broken and you'll no longer be able to access the SDS from the link. If the landing page is added, the landing page very rarely changes, so it would be uncommon that that link would be broken. So back to the information that we're needing to access, we need the active constituent, which we find here. So this is a process of just copying and pasting the information that is required. If you don't know the opening quantity, so the amount of chemical that you have on hand, you can set it to 0 to start with, and then update the amount later. Select the unit of measure. If you keep it in large quantities or small quantities, that will vary the measure. And obviously things that are in liquid form will have a different measure to things which are in powder. Now, this next bit of information we can access from the label. So I'll open the label. And on here, it gives us the information that it's either scored in millilitres or litres. So based on what you have on hand is the amount you'll set. Gives you the name, Trojan insecticide, which I'm going to put in the trade name. The chemical group, it's an insecticide. The manufacturer is FMC. And the category, being an insecticide, it's clearly to treat pests for plants. The poison schedule is always listed on here. So this one says caution, keep out of reach of children. And the caution is always an S5. We now come to the withholding period. So the withholding period is on the label, generally towards the end after the application rates. So we'll scroll down to the withholding period and simply copy and paste it into the withholding period field. If you're not happy with the format, you can go through and edit it as you require to make it a little neater. So we're now going to link in the safety data sheet. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to link in the landing page and not the actual safety data sheet. So I'll copy the URL and paste it into this field. The SDS review date will be 5 years after its release. So I now need to open the SDS. And at the top, it says the last revision date was the 14th of the 10th, 2020, meaning the next revision date will be the 14th of the 10th, 2025. I will tick this box here, and that will now set the system to create a task 30 days prior to that SDS expiring for me to go and review that the link is still working. So we now come to the hazard information. The hazard information is on the SDS, and it is in section 2, hazard identification. In this section, it will tell you the hazards that need to be listed, and it will also give you the pictograms that give a picture of what the hazard is. These are useful references when you've added in your list of classifications to make sure that these pictograms are showing up in your safeagsystems listing. So we'll begin at the top. An acute toxicity for inhalation, category 4. So we go back to the system. This is a health hazard, acute toxicity, category 4. Now, it's not uncommon that there are multiple health hazards or multiple environmental hazards or potentially physical hazards. So over here, you have the option to add additional by clicking the plus button. So we'll go back here. The second one that's listed is skin sensitization, category 1B. So we'll add another skin sensitization, category 1B. Specific target organ toxicity, repeat exposure, category 1. Again, we add another repeat exposure, category 1. Acute aquatic toxicity. Now, aquatic toxicity relates to marine life. So this is an environmental hazard. And again, this is category 1. So we go back here and this will be listed down here, acute category 1. And then the second one is chronic category 1. So we'll add a second one, chronic category 1. So that's all the hazards listed out. It's now time to put in the PPE. Now the PPE is listed in section 8. So under PPE, personal protective equipment, if you read through this information, it would advise you what personal protective equipment should be used when handling or applying this chemical. So in this case, the requirements are for chemical gloves, goggles, face mask, and protective clothing. And I always add chemical resistant boots where we're using chemicals. Now, I haven't uploaded an image, you'll see, because I've added this from the desktop. So what I am now going to do is switch to the app and upload the image. Now, this can be done prior or it can be done afterwards. However, keep in mind that only a business administrator or supervisor, so someone with business administrator access or supervisor access, can edit an inventory item once it has been added. If this is a task that you're going to get your workers to assist with by adding in some inventory items for you, then they'll need to add them from the app and add the photo when they add it. So we're now working from the app. We go into inventory and chemicals. We select the Trojan insecticide. We edit. Click on the camera to add a photo. Go new photo. Take a photo of the label on the bottle. Click use photo and it's now uploaded. Scroll to the bottom and click save. So that chemical is now listed. Now, if I wish to do records on that particular chemical, from the app, I have access to the safety data sheet, the add usage, purchase and adjustment log, add usage, purchase and adjustment function, and the log. If I want to add a usage, I come into here, I select type, and it gives me 3 options. One is a usage, if I've applied some chemical. One is a purchase, which is obviously if I've purchased it. And an adjustment is if the amount I have on hand differs from the amount listed on hand in my SafeAg system. In this particular case, I added this chemical with a 0 amount. So I'm now going to do an adjustment and say I have 15 litres on hand. The date is today, and I can add a note to say adding amount on hand and click save. Once I've added purchase, adjustment or usage records, they will be all listed under the log. So it starts, it says we opened with 0 and it then says we had an adjustment of 15. Now, if we want to access the SDS for a chemical, we can do this in 2 ways. We can go into the chemical and click on the SDS. which will open the landing page in this particular case, because that's what I linked, of the chemical. And I can then choose either the label or the SDS, depending on what I am requiring. Alternatively, if you need a list of all SDS that you have listed for your chemicals, you can access this from the emergency icon in the bottom right corner. If I click that, I have access to safety data sheets. I click on safety data sheets and they are all listed. Again, if I click on them, it will take me to either the SDS, if that's what I have linked, or the manufacturer's landing page, if I have chosen to do that. We'll now return to the desktop. And we're now going to look at the process for attaching documents to an inventory item. So we'll do this on a machine, on the machine we added earlier. So when we open the record of the machine in safeagsystems, please note that this must be done from the desktop. We have the option to attach documents under the Attached Documents tab. So I'll select this tab and come over here and select the button Attach a Document, and I'm going to choose to attach a checklist first. So on here, I'm going to add the tractor checklist and click Save. I'm then going to add a procedure. I will choose Tractor SWP and click Save. So those documents are now attached to that machine and can be accessed from the app and completed whenever a worker opens that machine. Any records, so any checklists which are completed or any procedures which are completed will be saved in the checklist logs and procedures log against that machine. So I will demonstrate doing one of those from the app, but before I do, I will just show you where you can generate a QR code. So up here you have the scan QR code option. This is only available for clients which have a professional subscription. If you have a standard subscription, you will not have access to the QR code option. So we click on the scan QR code and it brings up a QR code which you can print out, and you can then attach that to your machine so that anyone that comes to the machine can scan the QR code and access all the records. We do have inventory labels available if you wish to use them to attach one of these QR codes to your machine, or some people choose to attach them to a tag or the key ring. If you wish to use the labels, you simply log on to our you simply access our website, and under the tab for farmers, resources and online store, there's an online store where you can access the different items available. So on the left-hand side, you've got inventory labels, induction signs and visitor sign, contractor and visitor induction signs. Those will be covered in our induction webinar if you're interested in those. Please note they're not $30 each, so it is based on however many labels you wish to purchase as to what it will cost. So if your machine or inventory item is QR coded, you can access the information relating to that machine or item by clicking on the QR code reader in the bottom left-hand side of the app. Inventory items can only be accessed from people which are users in your system. They cannot be accessed from outside of the safeagsystems software. Click on the QR code reader, scan the QR code, and you now have access to that machine and to update its records. So once you've got your machinery, equipment, tools, chemicals, and structures added into your system, you will generally be accessing them from the app and not the desktop. This is where your day-to-day records are maintained. So from the app, I'll click into inventory, I'll go into my machines, and I'm going to go into the tractor that I added earlier. Because I've set the maintenance units to engine hours, it is now prompting me to log the engine hours reading. So I'll click on here. It says the last logged hours was 0. So I left it at 0 when I added it, and now I can add it in what it is today. So if I now wanted to add a maintenance record, I'm simply click Add Maintenance, put in the name of the maintenance I've done, put in the type, provide a description, put in the date of the maintenance, and then put in a date for when the next maintenance is due. By completing this field, I will then get a task created when that comes due. Performed by me, and click Done and Save. Once I've added maintenance, it will be listed under the maintenance log. So I can then go and check all the maintenance that's been done on this machine at any time. I can also complete a risk assessment from this field. So a risk assessment is a detailed look at the machine from the perspective of what hazards may be present and how they should be controlled and mitigated. A risk assessment is a very specific process which can take quite some time and is generally done if you buy in a machine, or if you make a change. So on here, you've got the option to do an assessment, or if an assessment has already been done, the assessment will be linked to this machine and you can go and view it and see what controls are in place to ensure the hazards related to that machine are controlled. From here, you can also access checklists and procedures. If I go into checklists and I click on all checklist logs, I can now access the track the checklist, which I did earlier. Click on here, click Start, and I'm then walked through doing it. The creation of these checklists is explained in the Documents and Files webinar, if you would like more information on how to do that. Once a checklist is completed, it'll be listed under checklist logs and where it's at. Procedures is a similar process, but simpler. It's where a worker can view the procedure and accept it. Read through and accept. Now, individuals with business administrator and supervisor access have the option to archive a machine, but workers do not. You also have the option of adding a task. If there is something that needs to be done to that machine and attended to, you can add a task from this field. If you wish to lock out or tag out a machine, this can also be done by business administrators and supervisors from the app. So we click on Edit, scroll down to the bottom, click on Tag Out and go Yes and Save. When this is done, an alert will be received to say that that machine has been tagged out to all business administrators. In addition, an email will be sent to say that that machine has been tagged out and should not be operated. When it is tagged back in, so the checkbox is unticked, the same process is followed where an alert is sent and an email is sent to business administrators. So we'll now briefly look at reporting. If you want to access reports relating to your machine, this can also be done under the Administration tab and Reporting. And down here you have an inventory section where there is a range of reports that can be printed out or viewed for your inventory. I hope you found this webinar useful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We can be contacted via phone on 08 8490 0939, or alternatively, send us an email at help@safeagsystems.com.